Hey everyone, Rosie here. Before we get started with this episode, we just want to send a big thank you to our partner, Grind Coffee Co. for their support of the show. They're a convenient subscription service offering specialty grade, single source, 100% Arabica coffee available in whole bean and drip grind. Check out grindcoffeeco.com.
What? No way. Fuck sakes. These guys got me on the builder's session.
Welcome to the Builder Sessions, a podcast where we chat with your favorite builders.
We get to know them, their stories, and hopefully inspire you to get off the couch and build something cool. I'm Hoff.
And I'm Rosie. And on this episode, we have Shaun, the WhatNoooWaaay guy. We talk about his journey to become a welder, the trials of starting and operating his own welding shop, and yes, we chat about TikTok as well.
Please enjoy our interview with Shaun.
Shaun, the No Way guy. Thanks for coming on the show.
You betcha. How's it going, guys?
It's going pretty good.
It's going good.
This is sweet. This is awesome. I've been following you for a while, and probably not as long as you've been, doing this stuff on socials. But I've been following you, and you're absolutely hilarious. And
we learn a lot.
And we
That's
learn
the
a
best
lot.
part.
And we learn a lot, and it's the stuff that we don't have to go out and buy a can of WD-40 to try ourselves, and you're saving us a lot of money and time. But then I learned you're a welder, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Let's get this guy on here. And you're like an hour away from us.
Yeah, no, it's been quite the journey, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm always learning stuff on TikTok, and it's mostly all common sense stuff.
Yeah.
So is what everyone informs me. Oh, that's common sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's usually common sense stuff that you don't think about.
But also, thanks for the view. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks for
So you're saying separating two buckets with an air nozzle is common sense? Because I had no idea about that. I'm like, this is wicked.
Yeah, you didn't know that, noob? Yeah. Take the training wheels off, Rook. Like, come on. So, Shaun, for those of our listeners who aren't familiar with you, I mean, I said Shaun, the No Way guy, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I have a small welding shop up in the Balkan area. I started posting stuff on social media, and it kind of just blew up, and then I got slowly referred to as the No Way guy.
So okay, what's that? Let's dive into that. So what were you posting on social, and then why did the No Way guy tagline or nickname come to be?
Well, I guess it all started with a bet with my wife. We were sitting around.
As all things do.
Yeah. We were bored during COVID and nothing to do, so downloaded TikTok, and we both started up accounts and see who could get the most followers. And so I started up mine. It was just my my welding business, and I was doing welding content and just some stupid videos. One wasn't getting a whole bunch of views or nothing. I did get enough followers to win the bet with that profile. And so I had seen some other guys, they were doing stuff with cars and stuff like that. So I started up another account, and it was called It's Just Money Car. And it was me working on my Chevelle and stuff like that. And absolutely no one wanted to watch that. I didn't get any followers, no views. And so I was trying to find something that people would want to watch. And I did a reaction video. I think it was putting a wrench on the end of a screwdriver for more torque on it. And I did my WhatNoooWaaay, and it caught a lot of traction right away. And I did another one, and that one went viral too. So I changed my It's Just Money Car page over to WhatNoooWaaay, and I started doing more reaction videos. And then pretty much I was getting tagged in so much stuff, and where's the No Way guy, and so that kind of got me the nickname the No Way guy. And But it's been quite the journey, I guess you could say.
And now you're at on TikTok at least 4.1 million followers.
Yeah, so
That's
TikTok
awesome.
we're up 4.1. We got 1.5, I think, on Facebook, and then with YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, that's another 500,000 on there. So yeah, it's just blown up. It's absolutely crazy.
Did you have any idea it would get that, like you would become that popular from doing what you do, sending these videos out? Like, did you just think you're just going to throw some shit together and see what happens? Did you think it could grow up to what you're at right now?
No, like when I started doing them, it was just for fun. It was just something fun to do. And yeah, I was getting some views. We are having fun doing it. And I never imagined it would ever blow up the way it did. And that's like, and then once we started putting some time into it and actually like thinking things through, then that's when the big followers and the views really started to come.
So, okay, so let's step it back for a minute. You mentioned welder, you're doing welding content. Can we talk a little bit about how you got into that trade? Because I want to hear, like, I'm dying to hear the stories and like the awesome, like the cool social media stuff. But I want to know too, and our audience wants to know, like, how did you get to where you're at, and where did you start? And you're a welder by trade. I'm assuming you have your journeyman, and like, where did all that start?
So that kind of started, well, in high school. I wasn't, I guess you could say, the smartest kid. I had ambitions to be I wanted to be a conservation officer, something like that. And I didn't have the credits for it. I didn't have the right classes for it. And I was trying to figure it out. And my teacher, Mr. Branley, he pulled me aside and he's like, well, do you like building things? And I said, I do. So I went into the welding program with him, and it, like, right away, I really enjoyed welding. So I took grade 10, 11, 12 of welding, and it was actually because of welding that I graduated. My teacher, like, I was
awesome.
Short credits and wasn't going to graduate. My teacher's like, you build something and I'll get you the credits. So I was doing work experience with a welder outside of town and talking to him, and we came up with this idea that we were going to build a 8-foot long potato cannon as my grade 12 welding project. So we did a bunch of pipe fitting, and I drew it all up and everything like that. And I built this. Yeah, it's about 8 feet long.
Like
it sits on
a legit potato cannon, like,
oh yeah,
like with pipe fitting and caps and everything. That's sweet.
So we build this thing, and like, I mean, I was scared to shoot it off the first time because, I mean, I'm still learning to weld. And the guy that was teaching me is like, oh, no, it's all good. You're fine. And so I took this thing into the school, like not in the school, but it was in the back of my truck. And I went in and told Mr. Brownlee, I said, yeah, it's all done. I got it outside, and he knew what I was building. So he comes out and we set the thing up because it sits on a big steel tripod, and it's got 2 handles on the back, and then it's got a barbecue sparker as the ignition on it. And he says to me, he's like, have you shot it yet? And I said, no, I kind of scared to. And he's like, well, I'll go get the oxyacetylene torch and bring it out here.
Oh, no way.
So we shoved a tennis ball down the barrel, and we snuffed out a neutral flame and shoved it into the chamber. And I kept saying, like, is that good? Is that good? And he's, oh no, a little bit more. And finally he said that was good. And so we put the spark plug into it, and I stepped back and I was holding it. And when I shot the thing, it kicked back about 1.5 feet. And like, the bang was so loud that, like, you could hear it through the school. And it shot the tennis ball clear out of sight. And
100%.
Yeah.
Here's your diploma. Congratulations.
So he looks at it, and he looks at the pictures I drew of it and everything I did on it. And I mean, I think it was close to like 10 credits out of it. I got pipe fitting, drafting, welding. I got a whole bunch of different credits out of it. And so I kind of owe him for getting me through high school, right? And so once I graduated, I basically just got on looking for any job I could find as a welder. And my first job was actually at Southland Trailers in Lethbridge.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And so I worked there for, I think, 7 years. And I signed up for my first year apprenticeship there. And when I went to sign up for school and I came back the next day and they're like, oh, no, you can't go. We got someone else that's going. So I ended up quitting that job, going to a different trailer shop and doing all 3 years back to back because I had all my hours from the 7 years of working at Southland.
Yeah.
And so I worked in 2 trailer shops off the bat. Then I went into some pipe welding. I was a helper for a little bit, and then I kind of went into repair shops.
Oh, cool. So like welding repairs on like trucks and that type of thing, or what type of repairs?
Yeah, so we did a lot of like heavy equipment. The most notable one, I worked in BC and we did like rebuilds on D11 blades and stuff like that. And that's what really grew my love for welding, is when you're doing something different every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing the same weld or the same position or the same setup every single day. It'd be yeah.
Well, that's what it was like at the trailer shop. I mean, you were a guy on an assembly line, and it was just you put the walls on, and I was the guy that did the roof caps.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I did every day, all day, was put roof caps on trailers.
And to some people, that's all they want, right? For some people, that monotony, I don't even call it monotony. They love it. They don't need
the
that.
repetition.
But for someone like, let's say, I'm going to speak for myself here with ADHD. The variety is awesome. And, something new coming in, boom, 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 my brain's firing. But yeah, and like as an extrovert, I can't just be. When I was working in a rod shop one time, I was just sanding a car all day for hail jobs, and I just went crazy. So I could definitely relate to that.
But sometimes I feel that repetition, you can. I mean, obviously, you don't want 3 or 4 years doing the same thing, but if you have that repetition on a certain task, you're gonna get really good at it. Hopefully, you can maybe change that. Because I remember working at some hotels and building doors, interior doors, and hanging them. I still hate hanging doors to this day. But you do so many of them, you get really good and efficient, and you kind of get little ways to kind of get better at it. But I guess,
sure.
3 or 4 years of doing the same thing, that might get a bit old. But I mean, to each their own, right? Everybody has their hands in different pots here. So
yeah. Everyone has interests, right?
Yeah. And then I had my own welding shop for, I think it was 2 years, and I was young and didn't take it serious, and I got job here, job there, and I wasn't ambitious with it. So I ended up shutting down the shop and going to another company, and that's when I went out to BC and started working out there. And then I got out of welding for a while. It was getting hard on my body, like with the heavy equipment stuff. And I met my wife, and she was a heavy equipment operator.
Oh, sweet.
So I followed her around for a year. We basically moved into a hotel and went around the province doing different stuff. And I've done a lot of things.
It's nice to hear when somebody says that shop or trades classes help them graduate, because being shop teachers here, sometimes there are students that, are struggling to graduate, and they don't have certain courses or marks, or their marks aren't good in core courses, and then they can come into the physical spaces, whether it's welding, automotive, woodworking, all those, and they thrive, and they can graduate, and it moves them on to a potential path in the trades or something else. And it's nice to be able to have a space where people can be comfortable, can go problem solve, create potato cannons, whatever you want, and you're able to walk across with your diploma, and it's something that you enjoy to do, and you're not sitting in front of writing an essay that you have to get a 85% on to to graduate high school, you can go build something cool, and you know, it
That's
kind of just
awesome.
sparks it, and now you're off doing what you enjoy.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, they don't push the trades as hard as they really should. Like,
Mhm.
there's a lot of kids out there that struggle with, like, to go out and do the different things, but you throw them into problem solving on a vehicle and they thrive at it, or like building different things. And I mean, I grew up on a farm, so I was building stuff all the time, like just tinkering with stuff. And my dad's a mechanic, or was a mechanic. So, I mean, it kind of, like, it helped me kind of figure out what I wanted to do quicker. But yeah, there needs to be more opportunity for the kids to try these different things, to see what they want to do.
Yeah, 100%. And it just opens up doors. Like down here in Lethbridge, we're really fortunate. All the school that I work for and the school that Hoff works for, we're really supportive of the trades and really pushing it. Like this coming fall, I'm starting intro to the trades course where we're doing. They get a chance to try everything, a little bit of everything, like wiring and construction and HVAC and, well, you know, whatever journeyman we can get in to help. That's what we'll offer.
Right.
And some automotive and, you know, small engine stuff and just dabble in here and there. But it just opens the doors for them. And it shows them what they maybe shouldn't try, right? Because it'd be the worst if they went in and wasted a year or two of tuition and they're like, actually, this isn't for me. Well, they can figure that out in high school, and then they didn't waste any time or money, and they're that much further ahead.
Well, and that's where, like, one of the things that I did was I took like, we were offered work experience. So I did a job shadowing day with conservation officer, and I loved it. But then when I realized I didn't have the credits and the courses for that, then I did work experience with a welder, and it was in a repair shop. So it was something new all the time. And he was showing me piles of stuff, and I'm still good friends with him. And I still phone him for advice every now and then. Like, this guy he knows everything about everything. So I never lost his number, became good friends, and I can call him anytime for help. And that's pretty awesome.
I think that's awesome to have a mentor type. I guess, I don't know if you would view him as a mentor, but for people to have somebody to look up to be able to call. I'm quite close with my old shop teacher, and again, kind of same thing. I can call him up, whether it's CNC software questions or, you know, whatever, and to have somebody that you can call whenever, text, whatever, communicate, ask questions. I think that can go a long way in the development of your skill sets, for you to pass on to other people and even grow, make yourself more efficient. Quality of work might go up. I think it's important to have people that you can, you know, ask, and they're not like, hey, because there's a lot of people that keep their, you know, trade secrets or the ways they do stuff very close to themselves. And I can see why people do that, but sharing knowledge and, you know, you put it out there. We've talked with some guests where, you know, lots of people just here's what I do. If you want to spend the time to figure out how to make it efficient for you, great, but this is how I do it. And the sharing of knowledge, I think, is huge in the trades. And there's a lot of people that know stuff, whether they've been to school or not, that I think can help a ton of people out. So that's cool to have somebody that you can, you know, call up anytime and be like, hey man, I need help on this. What would you do?
Yeah. Well, and I've been out on jobs where the employer's looking at me like, hey, what are we doing here? And just give me 1 second. I go back to my truck and call up Gary and, hey man, like, I think I know what I'm talking about here, but I just want to confirm with you. And then he corrects me, and I go back and, all right, we got to do it this way. But yeah, it's always good to have someone you can, in your back pocket, you can call, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So kind of, that's a good segue to my next question. So I want to know a time, what was your grind time story? Like something that came up in your life, or when you persevered through adversity, or something, a hard challenge that came up, and something that like really sucked to get through. And then I want to know, like, how'd you get through it? Where'd you find that? Because our show is a lot about trying it, getting out, even if you're not familiar with the process. Let's say woodworking, I know nothing about, but I owe it to myself to actually try. I'm not gonna, just pawn it off or buy something. Like, I need to actually try this and go forward. And then I discover that, hey, I got these skills. But what was a time in your life, coming up, like we'll go before the whole TikTok stuff, just in trades life, kind of what you referred to maybe, where like something that really sucked to get through in that experience?
So I guess when I had my original welding shop and it failed miserably, and I decided I wanted to move to the city. I wanted to move to Calgary and get a job up there. And so I was just cruising, looking for jobs. I find one, and they're looking for an aluminum welder, aluminum TIG welder. And I hadn't TIG welded in, I don't know, 8 years when I was in school. Like, the last time I did it was when I was in school. So I went into the interview and told him I was looking for work. And yeah, are you a TIG welder? You betcha. Whatever you guys need. So he's like, hey, well, we'll do a weld test. And I'm like, shit. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, if the machine's set up, I'm good to go. So he gets me some scrap aluminum, and we did the mild steel, and I did, like, I can run rods, I can burn wire. And then he hands me aluminum, and he's like, all right, do a bead here, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. And so there was this guy that worked there, and we called him the Crazy Russian. And he didn't speak a whole bunch of English, like, it was very broken up. And so I said to him, I said, can you set this machine for me? He's like, you know how to TIG? I'm like, I know how to TIG if it's set up, just set it for me. So he ended up setting the machine for me. And yeah, I ran a weld and passed with flying colors and got the job. So I guess that's one of my, I don't know, that's not really a great grind story.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest one would be before I started up Snake Eyes Welding here recently. So I was working for an oil company, and for, I guess it was 7 years. And I mean, it was like, I was a contractor to him, so we didn't get treated the same as employees. And like, depression sort of started setting in, like getting up at 3 a.m. for call outs and missing birthdays of your kids and different things. And I was getting drug rate down. And yeah, I kind of went into a bit of depression there. And this was all like at the end of COVID, or right in the middle of COVID too. And so this is kind of right before TikTok. But yeah, like I decided it was time for me to leave the oil field and do my own thing. So I decided to start my welding shop up again. And that was the hardest thing ever, because I mean, when I had my welding shop before and trying to get the clients and everything like that, and then when I quit, so people were leery about hiring me again. Like, is this guy going to be around?
Yeah.
Is he like, is he sticking around this time? And so I started the first few little jobs I did here and there, but then I started getting bigger and bigger jobs. And so finally I quit the oil field and opened up the welding shop, and like taken on like 20-foot truck decks and rebuilding Super Bs and different stuff. And we had a lot of big jobs come through the shop right away that scared the hell out of me as one guy. No overhead cranes. So I mean, like I was just like, for a set of Super Bs, we were putting new slopes in it, and one guy trying to take a 4x10 sheet of steel and slide it in there all on your own. And you just figure out different ways to do stuff. And once it started coming together, and I started to push through things and able to afford different tools that I can use in the shop and to make life easier. I guess that's probably the biggest grind was quitting my steady job with the oil field, good paycheck, and just going for my own business. I guess that would probably be it.
So when you quit the job, and you're standing in your shop, and you're like, "Holy crap, this is actually happening." What was going through your mind? Like, what emotions were you feeling? What what was it? Were you just like
I was
a puddle of piss
scared.
on the floor? Like what?
So, like, so I do scrap metal too. So
Oh, okay.
I had a whole pile of scrap, and scrap was up that year, and that definitely helped. Like, I hauled in a pile of scrap, and I spent every cent of that scrap money on like a welding truck, and a welding truck that broke down very, very often. The first day I went out with it, the welder piled up on it, and I had to buy a new welder. Like, it was just a whole bunch of problems, and I kept second guessing, like, was this the right thing? And like, I always had a job to go to. Like, with the oil field, they always said, like, if you want to come back, just come back. And I kind of just swallowed my pride. I'm like, no, I'm gonna stick this one out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there was a lot of long nights in the shop. There was a lot, like, everyone thinks when you're your own boss, you can take time off whenever you want and do what you want, but you work harder because you're trying to achieve something so that you can get time off. And that was the biggest thing. The biggest challenge I found was to take some time for myself rather than grinding so hard that it was wearing me down again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was absolutely frightening to quit my steady paycheck where I knew I got this much a month that's coming in, and now I got to make it. It's make or break, right? So
when you were in your your depression there, you were talking about missing family stuff and, just trying to grind out. What was the driving force or the motivation to kind of overcome that challenge that you were faced with?
It was basically my family, right? Like, I was every day driving home. It was like you just thinking about different things, and you're out in -40 weather, thawing out wells, and wishing you were at home with your kids or something like that. And so, I mean, thinking about my family, and that was the driving force. Like, how do I get myself home more to be around my family more? And I figured my way out was to start my own business and go crazy doing that.
Hey, that's good on you, because I think there's a lot of people who put that career and earning the dollar ahead of their family, and it's so hard. I think you're not. I mean, any dad can relate. It's like, okay, I want to do this. I know how I can make this, but then these little guys and my wife are at home. So how can I balance that? But I think I think it happens a lot where people just get caught up in the pursuit of that dollar, and then they end up missing a ton. And so good on you for identifying that as something important and then making that shift. So when you were starting that company, Snake Eyes, what was like, how did you maintain that focus? And because I know you said you swallowed your pride and said, I'm going to grind this out and this is what it's going to be. But it's probably tempting to go back to that job at times, right? Or get an offer here, or your buddy says you should do this, or whatever it is. So how'd you maintain that focus or in times of like doubt, or because I'm sure at the beginning you're like kind of jacked too, as well as scared. But then when those like feelings fade, how did you focus and maintain that drive during those types of times?
I don't know really how to answer that. Like, long-winded question. Yeah, that's a tough one, because I mean, yeah, I'm not real sure how to answer.
Have you ever thought of it that way, that you actually persevered?
I never really thought about it. Like
from the outside in, it's like, this is really impressive that this guy did this, right? From the outside. And so maybe you're just like, that's just normal life.
Well, I wouldn't say it. Like, I worked my ass off to get this business up to where I'm getting consistent jobs, and it's keeping me busy. And it, like, the biggest thing was, I guess, the quality. like I'm a real stickler for quality. That's why I won't hire anyone, because I don't want to have, I'm worried about the quality that they're going to put out in the field. And I don't want to get called out to fix something that one of my guys does or something like that. And like I was always the second call too. When I started out, I was always, guys would phone me and say, oh yeah, so-and-so was busy, so I'm phoning you. And I really strive to be that first call, that once I got out to work for someone, it was usually that I was getting that first call the next time, because they liked my work. They liked what I did. And yeah, I don't know. That's tough to answer that question. I don't know.
Do you find in the welding, the welding industry, that there are people that just, and I think every industry probably has it, that people just kind of slap stuff together? That you're talking about quality, you know, I think it's shifting now where people are trying to, you know, maintain a certain level of quality and trying to excel at that. But I feel like sometimes there's lots of people that just want to slap stuff together. Do you notice that in your field where you're fixing lots of people's screw ups?
I have fixed a lot of people's stuff. Like I can, like, there's that little plaque that you can buy that says, if you watch me weld, or this is my welding rate. If you watch, it's $10 more. If you tell me how to do it, it's $20 more. If you tried to fix it yourself first, it's $100 an hour more. There's been stuff that's come through my shop that it's been like people that say they're welders, or like they try hard, but just get it fixed right the first time. And it takes me less time to fix something that just broke, rather than something that broke, you tried to fix it, and then you brought it to me when it broke the second time. Right. And there's been some quality issues in the area. Like I've fixed some pretty gnarly stuff around here. And
oh, man.
Like, I don't know who was fixing the stuff, but man, like, but that's everywhere though. Like, you always get the people that, yeah, they just slap it together. I remember when I first started my company back up, and I got called out to a job, or a guy had referred me because he couldn't get out there. And the way I was taught to fix this stuff was with my air arc gouging, and like gouging out cracks and stuff like that. And I got out there, and I took my gouger with me. I didn't have air. I couldn't get my air compressor to work. And so I phoned, and it was like, how do you get into these cracks? And, oh, we just use the torch and blow them out as best we can. And so I looked at what needed to be fixed, and I was like, no, this isn't a torch job. So I asked the guy, I said, do you have an air compressor on site? I need to gouge this out. And I was there for, I think it was 8 hours gouging and welding on this bucket. And that was the first year I had my business back open. And it turned into me being at that gravel pit 3 days a week for at least 5-6 hours a day. Like, that was one job. Like, I did a quality job on one job, and then I was the first call, and I made it a priority to get out to those guys. I'd go out when they were off shift or whenever, and just to make sure to keep them happy. Cause I mean, they were paying a lot of my bills that year. But yeah, the quality, yeah, it's hard to, like I'm real big on, it's got to be done right. And if I don't know how to do it right, I'll make a phone call and ask, like, hey, what's the best way to do this? Or like, I have enough people in my back pocket and have done enough different things that it should be done proper coming out of my shop. Anyways.
Yeah. No shit leaves the shop, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Like, oh man, how does that feel when, like, I could just imagine someone brings something to you and you just see all this, like, popcorn, chicken crap welds, and you're like, oh my gosh. And it looks like some, like it was done on a
Friday,
on a Friday in a farmer's field with two jumper cables hooked up to the truck battery and some 7018 rod that's had all the, flux off of it, and it just looks like absolute trash. Like, how do people? You have to try to do that poorly, probably. Like you, like
Well,
I have kids.
It's not hard to do poor work. Like that's the thing with welding is, like, there's a lot of factors in how you do your processes to the quality you have. And that's the thing is like a lot of guys, they'll just, oh, it's a welding rod, you stick it in, you put some electricity through it and you go. Like, no, it's a lot more than that. And like, yeah, it's hard when you get a job in that the customer has worked on many times before, and it's held for them a couple times, then breaks, and then they just keep stacking steel on top. And it usually takes longer to cut off and clean up all of their stuff than it does to fix it properly once you're down to what's broke.
Oh man, that's insane.
Yeah, some of the stuff that I've had through my shop is just gross. And like some of it's been on the highway too. Like,
really,
it's just, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that's on the highway that people have no idea about.
Yeah. And you
like
see
the next time you're following a logging truck or something like that, just think it's just welds that are holding it together, and it's whether or not the guy knew what he was doing when he fixed the problems on that trailer.
That's
Start driving with my hand over my face.
Yeah,
And just leave it a little.
Just turn off. As soon as you see a logging truck or anything, just turn off. Like, no wonder DOT's always out in the summertime, right? Like, good, I guess. Like, you know, people are like, oh, DOT, but it's like they're keeping people safe, like
And alive on
and
the highway,
alive.
right?
Like, that's crazy.
Well, I'm the same way. When I see DOT, I'm the same way, and it's usually I'm pulling. Like, I'll be the first to admit that my trailer doesn't look the best, but I mean, it's all held together, and I get tickets for whatever else. But I mean, it's safe to be on the road. The lights might not work all great, but
yeah,
I'm the same way. I see DOT, and yeah, I hope you don't get a ticket, but yeah, they're doing their job, and I mean, that's what they have to do to find the stuff that's broken and unsafe, right? So
you can fix it.
yeah. So
exactly.
that's what you should do. Just go whenever you see a DOT check stop, you pull over without your trailer. You pull over
With your welding rig, and you just start.
Yeah, or you hand out business cards to these guys.
Yeah.
Like, hey, any of this stuff I can fix. Just send it to me.
Do you find being a farm boy has helped you out? Just with doing different, like you're saying, you know, speaking
Tinkering.
from our field of teaching, when farm kids come through our areas, it is like night and day.
Yeah.
You know, whether they know what they're doing in a specific area, for woodworking instance, but you explain just a couple little things to them and they take off. Do you find that that's helped you as you've gone throughout your career in welding, and just having some and being involved maybe at a younger age, tinkering with stuff? Has that helped kind of, I guess, your problem solving arsenal as you've gone through welding?
Oh, for sure. It's like, I mean, when you're out on the farm, you're always, and I didn't grow up on the farm. Like, I didn't move to the farm until I think it was 13 years old. But once I got to the farm, it was, what can I get myself into to get myself in trouble and build and different things. Like, I had a car that had flamethrowers out the exhaust.
Yeah, you did. Spark plugs on the exhaust tips, probably, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we used to have a car rally, and I had straight pipes out the side, and my dad came into the shop and he seen me tapping spark plugs into the pipes. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I rigged up a manual choke on it too." And he just shook his head. He's like, "You're gonna light the country on fire." But no, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of the parents of these farm kids, they encourage their kid to go out and explore in the shop, do different things, and like have projects and stuff like that. And especially, like, it's not really getting themselves in trouble. It's just they're finding things to do, and it's their interest, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But yeah, farm kids definitely, like, they're a different breed too. Like,
oh yeah,
when you're a farm kid at 10, 12 years old, you're on a tractor picking rocks or doing whatever, right? So you're learning to do a lot of different things that, say, a city kid wouldn't get to do because they don't have that opportunity. And a lot of people rag on farm kids, but farm kids, yeah, they get to do all this stuff and they learn a lot of things early on. And that's why you see a lot of farm kids get into the trades and do that sort of work.
And do well in it. And they get jobs because they've learned how to tinker. They've learned how to problem solve, like you said. And it's just, and at an early age, it's really cool to, like, I've taught that they're really uncommon nowadays too. Like whenever a farm kid comes in, you can tell him or her, because I've had some really good female farm kids too. And this one gal just graduated. She has excellent work ethic. She has a bunch of cows and horses, and she's going to be a welder. And it's like, she's a farm kid. And it's like, when you get that one farm kid, you're like, oh, you know, you got it. You understand. Hey, can you do this? Yep. Comes back 10 minutes later. Hey, what else do you need me to do? Or what else can I do?
The forward
work
thinking
ethic is great.
Yeah, it's really
because
cool.
They have all these chores. Like half the kids, before they get on the bus, they got to go feed the chickens.
Yeah.
They got to go do all the different things. They have all these chores they have to get done, right?
Yeah.
So they got a great work ethic.
So let's get into.
I've got a quick question here while we're on this farm kid.
Hey, don't
here's
let me.
here's a
question. A good time.
Here's a question.
You go.
How would city kids, or somebody, a family in the city, how can they give an opportunity for their kids? How am I trying to say this? To have these opportunities that farm kids just grow up with. How can maybe parents provide their kids with opportunities that can expose them to, problem solving or doing these chores and being around the shop and stuff like that?
Great question.
That is a great question. And that's a tough one because it's not easy for, like, unless you live on the farm, like, I don't know.
Does it come down to some parents too?
Okay, so on my acreage, like I've had lots of different like kids come to work for me, and I've had the city type kids. Like Vulcan's a small town, but I've had like the city type, and then I've had the farm kids, and it's a noticeable difference. Like when you get a city type kid out on the farm and you tell them you're going to be weed eating for 4 hours today, and it's just easier for him to say, no, I don't want to do that. But you get a farm kid out, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
I'll do it in 3.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I don't like, I guess if a kid wanted to do that and a parent wanted to give that kid that opportunity, the best thing would be to look for, like during the summer or something like that, look for a farm that is looking for a summer student to like work on the farm, do chores and like just little things here and there. That's the best I can answer that, really. Like it's hard because, I mean, if you live in, say, Lethbridge, right in the middle of Lethbridge, you're to drive them out for the day or whatever. Like, and it falls on the parents too. Like, does a parent want to drive his kid out to a farm at 6 a.m. for work? Not very likely, but it's tough. I don't know how to answer that with.
I guess even being involved, like being around in the shop and around tools, and I guess it also probably comes down to what the parents' backgrounds are. If they're not, mechanically inclined, or they don't have any tools or a garage or whatnot, because as my kids get older, and it's luckily, being in the trades, I would like them to be comfortable around not only, wood shop stuff, but hopefully automotive and, some welding and stuff. But I've got a little bit of a background. I was really involved, or my dad was involved when I was little, being, building birdhouses and fixing fences, and my uncle was a welder. So I was kind of around a lot of stuff. But if you don't have that opportunity, how do you know what these trades can offer? And that spark goes off when you're 10. You're like, hey, I want to build cars now. Some of these kids don't have that, and I just don't know how they can get that opportunity.
go to a junkyard.
Yeah.
Or go buy a motorbike that's broke down and tell them to take it apart, figure out what's wrong with it, get it running. One thing that I guess, so one of my hobbies is demolition derby. And if you want to learn how to be like, what's the word? Like, if you want to learn how to fix something, not necessarily the proper way, but make it work, get into demolition derby. Like the different things you learn, so in demo derby, you're doing welding, you're doing automotive, you're doing body work, you're doing all the automotive stuff, but then you're also doing the welding and different things too. Like, there's different sports that you can get into that really gets your hands dirty into that, and really, like, you start learning different things too. Like, everything I know automotive wise, like, my dad was a mechanic, but when I got into demolition derby at 16, and I've been doing it for 23 years now, I can pull an engine out and put an engine in an hour. And change awesome. A transmission in one of my cars in 45 minutes. Like, Jeez. It's crazy the things you learn. You wouldn't think. You think it's just smashing cars, but the things you learn about taking cars apart and the wiring aspects and different things, like, there's a lot there.
And even the problem solving in between heats, right? I've been on a couple of pit crews in a demo derby, and like the Vauxhall one. And you go out, you do that first heat, you come back, okay, the rad's busted, how are we going to fix that? The transmission line's blue, how are we going to fix that? It's overheating, blah, 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 run the lines in the cooler, put some ice on, and it's like boom, 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 you're under pressure, you have to problem solve and apply the skills that you know, that you've learned, or learn on the fly to figure it out and make it work, or else you're done.
Exactly.
Is that called grind time?
That's grind time right there.
Yeah, you bet.
And then to see it start up and then go out with the back end on a completely squished, and it's like lopsided and back into the center. Yes, that's a good feeling. It runs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's start talking about the TikTok stuff now. So I'm really excited to talk about. So you're you got into this. You had the bet with your wife. You started that, and then you went on from there. And then all of a sudden, you saw that you did it like a reaction video, and it took off. Tell us what happened next. So like, what in that story? Because you haven't just. You do these reaction videos, but they're different every time. And like, what was that process like, gaining traction, and what have you learned from that? Just tell us the whole, whatever highlights you want to talk about.
So when I started doing it, like, once I started up the WhatNoooWaaay account, and I was still doing my welding stuff too, but the WhatNoooWaaay stuff, it was the reaction video. I was always watching a guy, Sydney Raz, and he's the guy, I don't know if you've seen him, here's something I didn't know before I was in my 30s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so I, like, not to say that I copied him, but like, it's the same sort of thing. And like, talking to a few people, they're like, oh, you created your own niche on TikTok. And I kind of did with the whole WhatNoooWaaay thing, but like, I've always said WhatNoooWaaay and fuck's sake, like, I mean, being a welder, that one goes hand in hand with that. But
yeah, I was gonna ask, is that where that tagline came from? Every time you see one of those shitty weld jobs come in that you need to fix, is that where that came from?
Well, my wife thinks that I stole fuck's sake from her, but I've always said it, like, and pretty much since I became a welder. Like, when I started working as a welder, that's when I started picking up that language. But yeah, so I started out, I was doing 2-3 reaction videos a day. Like, I was trying to figure out how to grow my account. And I mean, when you get that first 1,000 followers, you're like, wow, like, I got 1,000 people that are watching this stuff. And like, I used to think, like getting like 10,000 views, I was like, holy, like this is just mind blowing. I can't believe it. But when you hit 1 million views on a video or 10 million views on a video and you get 200,000-300,000 followers out of a video, it just it's a switch that flips in your brain. You're like, okay, I might be on to something here. And yeah, so I started doing some research like when the best times to post is, and I was really watching my analytics on my TikTok to see like kind of the age groups that were watching me, the gender, and what time most of my followers were watching. And then that's when I started. So most of my following watches my videos at about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So that's when I would post all my videos, was 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And I stopped doing the 3 videos a day because it was burning up content, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't seeing the returns on the views and everything like that by doing 3 videos a day as opposed to doing 1 video every day or 2 days. So then once I really started looking at it, and then you're consistently getting 1 million views. Like I had a streak of, I think, 30 videos or more that went over 1 million views, all within a day.
Wow.
So like in a month's time of posting, I had videos that were doing 1 million views at least a day.
Is that
And
feeling,
that's pretty cool.
Is that feeling addictive when you put this video out? Like you said, you're trying to figure out timelines and sending 3, you do these ones, you get 10 million views. Is that addicting, and almost does your mindset turn to, I want to just focus on this? Like, is it hard to maintain that, your welding shop and all that stuff, and then this stuff's blowing up and you're like, do you want to just focus on the content?
Yeah,
like
with the way it started blowing up, and I was trying to figure like, okay, like this WhatNoooWaaay stuff, like I'm getting the views, but I mean, you got to turn your views into, like, you have to monetize it some way, right? Like, and so that was part of the thing. Like, so I have my welding business, but I'm doing this TikToks and the Instagram, the Facebook, trying to grow my YouTube. Like, that's where you can make some decent money, is when your YouTube blows up. But yeah, like, so I'm trying to balance both of it, but then you got like, it's a fine line of trying to figure out where you want to go with it. If you want to, like, I worked really hard, and that's where I'm at. I worked really hard to build my welding shop to where it is, that I don't want to give it up to just do social media, and half my social media is out in the shop. And anyways, so I mean, I may as well be out there anyways and making content. But yeah, it is addicting, and it turns into, like, there's a lot of disappointment there too, right? So you get a video, you go on a streak of 10 videos that do over 1 million views, and then you post something and it only does 50 or 100,000 views. And then you start questioning, like, well, what the hell did I do wrong here? Why is no one, like, oh, my shadow banned or whatever? Like, and I was taking videos down. Like, if they didn't hit a million views, I'd take them down. I'd try to repost them at a different time, or I'd redo it or something. And I talked to one of my buddies that he's big into the woodworking side of social media. And he's like, no, he's like, leave everything up and just learn from it. If something doesn't do good, there's a reason. So you just watch it over and over and see why, try and figure out why.
That's a grind too.
It is like,
what's that like? It's like, okay, well, I should probably do a video today. I didn't do one yesterday. Got to keep the algorithm happy, but I also have
I got
to.
this trailer I got to get out to a customer in 3 hours, and
yeah.
Like, how do you keep the ambition to do both? To do that? Is it the dopamine from the views?
Like, it's tough, and I mean, like when I was in the oil field, and you get, like, not bitched at, but you get like how, like you need to be home more, you need to be with your kids more, stuff like that. But then I'm sitting there flicking on TikTok, trying to find hacks or something that I can do my style of video to. And then that turned into like finally seeing them like, well, shit, I'm up until midnight every night fucking looking for videos. And it, yeah. So, I mean, I have slowed down a little bit on how many videos I post through the week, just because I'm trying to keep the balance between my business and my family, and yeah, just, and then finding the content to do, right?
Because you got to do some research, eh?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if I got to research different things, I got to find content to do, but I don't want to. Like, I'm still trying to balance everything. It'd be easier if I picked one or the other and just did it. But I don't know it's hard to take the leap from owning a business that you've worked so hard on and just saying, no, I'm going to put that aside and try social media. Like, I can't, it's hard for me to take that leap.
I got to commend you for keeping your family first. You've mentioned that with, getting out of the oil field and with your welding shop and trying to, keep your family at the center point. I think a lot of people, I'm bad for that. Sometimes, you get home after a full day's work, you start flicking through Instagram, whatever, you get those, dopamine levels get up because you watch some cool stuff that you haven't seen. And next thing you know, it's, 8:30, 9, the kids are in bed, or you need to put them in bed, and you're just, you're there, but you're not present with them, and then I think that can be the addiction and maybe a negative of social media for a lot of people. I have to kind of put myself in check, and sometimes I have to delete all that for 1 or 2 weeks, because you just become a zombie, and your kids are wanting to have fun and do stuff, and you're oh yeah, whatever, we'll throw some TV on, and
yeah,
this is my time,
and that's not even being a content that's not even being a content creator. So when you're doing this and you're maintaining these certain releases of videos and trying to find times, like, that's just got to be hard as doing it. It's almost like a second job. And so you've got, your family, your welding shop, and then your social media. I don't know how people do it, crazy.
And then to add on top of that, like our merch that we sell, like that's turned into like, so my wife has a lot to do with this. Like, I never wanted to go live on any of my social media because I hate being on camera, which
so do I.
Yeah, I hate being on camera.
Am I your wife in this scenario?
I never wanted to go live, and then we had people that were asking for merch. They're like, "Oh, we need a fuck say cat or WhatNoooWaaay hats and stuff like that." And so she dove right into that. And it's turned into a full-time job for her now. And so we're at the point where we have the welding business, we have the WhatNoooWaaay videos to do, plus we opened up a storefront as well with our merch. So that's a full-time job for her. Plus then we got the kids on top of that. Plus, like, we do meet and greets, and I mean it's like we're busier than we've ever been. which is good. You gotta like strike while the iron's hot, right? So that's kind of how we're looking at it. But yeah, it's tough.
What are some highlights of your videos, TikTok, your social media, celebrities you've met, opportunities that you've been able to go with? Has that kind of journey been pretty cool to look back and see what this channel that you started with has done for you and your family?
I mean, there is a lot of things that I've gotten to do strictly because of WhatNoooWaaay. And like, I mean, Gore Bamford, I've met him. I've actually become pretty good friends with him. NHRA, like, they invited me down to Seattle for a weekend to go to the races, and like, it turned out that all of the crews on the in NHRA loved my videos. So I got like backstage tours of everyone's trailers and different things, right?
That's so sweet.
There's a lot of cool things that I wouldn't otherwise get to get to do. And then like, I mean, yeah, like messages. I'm drawing a blank on the guy that sent me a message. He's in all the Adam Sandler movies. Nick Schwartzen.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
He sent me a message on Instagram. He's like, "Man, I love your stuff. It's funny as hell." I was like, "What? No
so
way!"
sweet.
Nick Schwartzen sending
No
me a
way.
DM. And then he bought a bunch of our merch for his buddies. Like
Wow.
it's
Jeez.
I don't know. It's crazy the reach that this has gotten, and and the opportunities that it's bringing forward. Like, I mean, it's boosted my welding business too.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I show different things that I build and stuff like that on my WhatNoooWaaay page, and I mean my Snake Eyes welding page has grown over 100,000. So now I'm getting people phoning me that I want the WhatNoooWaaay guy to build me something.
That's cool.
And
it's
is
coming
cool.
together.
So they're both almost complementing each other, right?
That's full circle.
All that extra work that you're doing is cycling around.
Now you're going to change it to WhatNoooWaaay welding.
Yeah.
Instead of Snake
might
Eyes.
have.
Hey, and then you want the WhatNoooWaaay guy to build you a trailer? No. And then it'd be way full circle. I can only do the top though, the roof part.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So
yeah, no, it's been cool. And I mean, companies that are reaching out, like I had a guy send me this all TIG welded.
Beautiful. Yeah.
He built this and he's like, I want you to have it. Like I wouldn't be getting this shit if I wasn't the No Way guy. Like, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on
it's all good.
Not, but...
No.
There's going to be a lot of beep, beep.
No. We'll just mark it explicit and then it's fine.
Yeah. But like, yeah, like it's cool. I've met, so one of the things I was talking with my wife is different people that I want to meet, or like people that I've kind of dreamed of meeting. Like, so my childhood hockey hero was Theron Fleury. So we had the Camrose Crush owner call us and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come up to a game? Players love you." And so it's a senior AA team. And we get up there and they asked me to do the lineup. And I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." And he's like, "Yeah, Theron Fleury's going to do a little talk after you." And I was like, "What? Theron Fleury's here?" Yeah, he's going to do the lineup. So you just kind of go in and give the guys a WhatNoooWaaay. And I was like, "Well, fuck, Theron Fleury's stealing my thunder." But so yeah, I got to meet Theron Fleury. So that was cool. And then like with the Score Bamford, like talking with him, and we went up to his charity event. He does this big charity golf tournament. And we went up there and he wanted me to be one of the celebrities to be auctioned off. And I was like, "Well, I'm not much of a celebrity, but okay." So I got up, I was the first guy to get auctioned, and I sold for $11,000, which blew my mind. I was like, awesome. "Al, if I make $2,000, I'll be happy." And then when it closed at 11,000, I was just in awe. Couldn't believe it. And then so Theron went up after me and he sold for 11,500. I'm like, holy shit, like I almost sold for as much as Theron Fleury. But then like I was sitting with Theron that night and talking with him and stuff. Like it was really cool. So so that was kind of one thing. I got to meet Theron out of that. And like, I don't know if we could say we're friends, but like I've talked to him a few times. And then when I was down at NHRA, kind of my racing hero is Tony Stewart. And they thought that I was going to get to meet him, and they thought he would be at them races, but he didn't end up coming. But so I didn't get to meet Tony Stewart. And then the other guy is Ryan Reynolds. And everyone comments that I sound like Ryan Reynolds, and people always tag him in my videos and stuff. So that'd be cool if I can meet Ryan Reynolds. But yeah, like because of WhatNoooWaaay and this whole thing, I've got to do some cool stuff. and there's more stuff on the way too that like my whole family is going to get to enjoy, right?
Mhm.
So all that hard work is, all that grind time
Yeah.
is paying off.
Yeah.
100%.
Fruitful, hey?
Love it. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah.
What are some lessons you've learned about over this whole, from the beginning, pursuing a welding career, to getting your business back on track, to then exploding with this TikTok experience you're having right now? What's the one big lesson that sticks out to you that's kind of shaped your perspective on things?
Dream big.
Yeah.
Like you got to have a dream of what you want to do. And my wife is a big, like, what's your dreams? What she was always asking me, what's your dreams? What's your dreams? And now I finally started opening up and telling her like different things that I want to do. And now, like, once you start talking about the dreams that you have, you can start making realities out of them, right? And like it was the same thing with my welding business. I want it to be a big welding business. And once, I mean, with the TikTok, it's starting to grow. It's starting to get big. And yeah, with the TikTok, I mean, it's like we're dreaming big with it, and it's turning into a really big thing. Like some of the guys, when I first started my TikTok, and some of the first people I followed, and I was like, holy crap, these guys have 2 million followers. And like, I'm past some of the people that I looked up to on TikTok, or still look up to, but I've surpassed them in followers and views and stuff like that. And it has been a grind. Like I used to say that it was just dumb luck, but like we worked our ass off to get everything where it is now. And yeah, you just got to dream big and put in the work, really.
Get those hands dirty.
Love it.
Hey.
Yeah, that's right.
So Shaun, as we kind of wrap up here, with our 3 questions here, what is some advice you have for somebody who wants to get started into welding?
So if you want to get into welding, you got to figure out what kind of welding you want to do. You need to figure out if you want to be a pipeline welder, if you want to be on the road all the time, if you want to be gone from your family, or if you're single, if you want to make money, you got to figure out what type of welding you want to do. If all you want to do is run rod on pipe, then yeah, you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to go out and get the experience on the pipeline and set up for that. But if you're like me, you want to do something different every day, go find a repair shop that you can work in, apprentice at. And like the biggest thing is all these kids now is they're so entitled, they don't like to listen.
Yep.
Go be an apprentice somewhere and fucking listen to take
it all in
of the shop.
Yeah, 100%.
You need
tell them, preach.
Well, you need to keep your hurt feelings at the door, right?
Yeah.
When I took a lot of crap when I started out. Like, I mean, it was 20 some years ago, and like get called names and all that stuff. And like, you got to have tough skin if you're going to be a welder. And don't take when someone's yelling at you and calling you names, don't take it personally. It's just, it's part of the trade. In all reality,
it's business,
like,
and be humble, right? It's your ego that's making you like get mad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need, like, when someone's telling you something, you need to be a sponge. Absorb everything that they tell you, and don't think you know everything, because you don't. I'm still learning stuff, and I've been in the trade for 25 years. And it's you never know everything you need to know about welding. There's always something to learn. So I guess that, yeah, just you need to be humble and listen and
pay your dues.
Figure out what kind of welding you want to do.
Yeah. So once you figure out what type of welding you want to do, what specific specific? Holy cow, I can't even talk. What
You got
skill
sun fried
set?
at the pool today.
I was in the outdoor pool for too long. What specific skill sets are important to develop in order to get into that or to develop in the welding trade?
Like what sort of skills do you need?
Yeah, like specific
Like,
skill sets involved in the welding trade.
I mean, you got to have good eye-hand coordination.
Mm-hmm.
It like that's the big thing. If you got to be able to use one hand, you have to have a steady hand. You got to be able to use both hands. I mean, like we're welding with a mirror behind something and reverse. Like it's very in depth. Like it's not just pick up and go. So yeah, like eye hand coordination is a big thing. And you have to have tough skin. I mean, you're gonna burn yourself. So like just and you have to have a strong body too. Like I mean, it's hard work. It's not easy work. It doesn't matter what kind of welding you do. It's not easy work. It's hard work. So I mean, you got to be fit and in shape and have good eye-hand coordination. And
so
I'm sure there's lots of other things too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of drawing a blank here and everything, but
good hand skills, all that stuff.
Yeah, good attitude too, right?
Yeah, so exactly. So specifically, going down a little more specific in that question, what are let's say top 3 starting out tools that if green apprentice, wet behind the ear, going to the tool shop, going to the welding supply shop, going to Banditos, what are the top 3 starting out tools for a welder that they must have?
I would say get a good helmet, a light, like you can go buy a $50 helmet and it's going to be heavy. It's going to, like, when you have your hood down all day, it hurts your neck. Mm-hmm. Get a light helmet, something like, I personally like the auto darkening. So, I mean, if that's what you like, then you're going to spend some money. So, I mean, get a good auto darkening helmet. If that's what you like. If you don't like auto darkening, then get a good like carbon fiber, something light. But I mean, your helmet's always on your head. So you like spend the money on a nice helmet, like something that is comfortable and that you'll use. Next thing would be gloves. Like get a good, comfortable pair of gloves. And probably like safety glasses. Like I am very like when I don't wear my safety glasses, it's because I don't have the certain kind that I like to wear that fit my face perfect. And like, yeah,
you don't do safety squints?
Well, I do those, but usually end up in the hospital getting something pulled out. So.
And that's the tagline support there.
But I mean, a chip and a hammer is a chip and hammer. Like when you're tooling up, you need to think of what you're going to use personally, like your helmet, your safety glasses, your gloves, like a good FR shirt, something that sparks aren't going to burn through you. But that, yeah. And if you're going to Banditos, yeah, they got all that stuff. They got
all that stuff. Shout out to Banditos.
Yeah.
Love those guys. Hey, I want to say, Shaun, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been
thank you for having me. This was fun.
Sharing your story, opening up a little bit about the trials and how you got through and how you buckled down and your grind time and just how you've become successful. And I'm sure a lot of people look up to you, and we really appreciate you coming out and taking the time out of your obviously busy schedule to chat.
No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone that watches my videos, because if it wasn't for people watching my videos, I wouldn't have this success. So it's not just me, it's everyone that watches, right? So
as we kind of close up here, where can people find you? And is there anything else that you'd like to, anything coming up that you want to promote? Now's the time.
So we're heading to Ontario. We're going to be in Belleville on, I can't remember the day. We'll be in Lethbridge in September at Hickory Street. We're doing a meet and greet there. People can check out my LinkTree. So that's got all of our meet and greets on there. It's got the dates, times. Go check out our YouTube. We're trying to like do some full length videos that are more of in the life of the No Way guys. So just stuff that we're doing, not necessarily just hacks. But yeah, the LinkTree on our bio, you can find everything from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, everything. And we just got verified on Facebook, so now people know who which the real profile is.
Yeah.
So.
Instead of the other 30,000 that are trying to.
Yeah.
WhatNoooWaaay spelled with zeros, and I bet you get a lot of that.
It's ridiculous. There's about 100 different WhatNoooWaaay pages. It's ridiculous.
That's so dumb. Well, Shaun, thanks again for coming on. We really appreciate your time. And I just want to say thanks to everyone for listening. All of the links that Shaun mentioned will be in the show notes of this episode. Thanks again, Shaun. Thanks, Hoff, for coming out.
Thanks, Rosie.
And thanks, everyone, for listening. And we'll catch you in the next one.